Hey everybody, and welcome to Side Quest, the episodes between the concept of the podcast upon which the podcast is named. Oh god, these are getting more and more esoteric. Where we talk about random stuff. In this case, we are going to be talking about WandaVision, although it should be noted that we record these on a Thursday, and if you know the WandaVision schedule, that means that the newest episode will be coming out the day after we record this, so we are one behind those of you in the future listening to this, so keep that in mind.
Yes, so we will be spoiling it. Don't bitch about it.
I mean, we can't spoil as much as you know. If you could reach back in time, you could spoil shit for us.
You had a perfect segue there. Speaking of random stuff, being as that was the Scarlet Witch's original power, before she went super OP and crazy, which is entirely relevant to the show. We are following that story arc. But yeah, the Scarlet Witch's power used to be, I can make random bad luck befall people. Use my mutant powers to make you spill your coffee.
I mean, are we talking about MCU or are we talking about comics? Because, like, her power has been kind of wibbly-wobbly magic in the comics for a while.
Yeah, well, that's how she started out. And much like how the Invisible Girl started out crap, and then they realized, oh, hang on. You know, if you can affect probability, how are you doing that? And they sort of expanded on that until she became what is now being kind of shorthand explained in WandaVision, of extremely powerful telepath and extremely powerful telekinetic abilities on a quantum level, to the point where in the comics she could just fuck with reality by accident.
That would have been great if that's how they introduced her in Age of Ultron. Her entire power was like, zap. Cap just trips over his own shoelaces or something.
That was literally how she started in the comics.
I mean, to be fair, on the nature of comics, Superman started out as a dude who could hop over buildings pretty good.
Yeah, they were finding their feet.
There is a scale of inflation that happens just through comic history as the stories get grander and bigger.
I mean, she's not the only person with probability powers. There are some cool people with probability powers, Domino and Longshot, but they're kind of limited. With Scarlet Witch, they really amped that shit up.
I would say at this point she more firmly has reality warping powers than probability.
Mm.
Like, that's, I think, just established.
Yeah. I honestly don't want to read about any character that has probability altering powers who their entire story arc was, I just won the lottery, I quit.
I mean, that is how it would go for most people. But yeah, what I'm kind of liking about WandaVision is Scarlet Witch, and even Vision, really, never really given that much screen time in the main MCU. It's like we're talking about how the Scarlet Witch's powers work. That's never really been explained in the MCU. It was just kind of, they were fucked around with the High Evolutionary. One of them can run fast, and one of them can sort of do things that the plot requires them to do. Plot magic.
One of them can run fast, one of them is functionally God.
Yeah.
One of them got screwed in that deal.
It's like, oh, fine, you could change reality, but you blinked, I just masturbated.
I can run really fast. Faster than a bullet? No.
Oh, speaking of masturbation, just as an interesting side note, they apparently, in the Ultimate Universe, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver pretty much had kind of an incestuous relationship going on.
Oh yeah, they did a lot of creepy things in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, the Ultimate Universe got wiped out for a reason.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is getting a bit sticky. We should end this.
It's like, we're going to keep Miles Morales and burn the rest.
Yeah, they had a scene where they're doing things and Wolverine was a voyeur, and it was just like, wow, they can do anything in comics, can't they? And
but
they chose
to
do this.
The entire premise of the Ultimate storyline was, what if we took all these beloved Marvel characters and just made them horrible? Or killed them?
So, real quick to hit the base premise of this one, we're talking about WandaVision, the new Disney Plus series. We are discussing up through episode 5, I believe. Yes, episode 5, which to my understanding is the halfway point. If you somehow have not caught up on WandaVision to that point, yes, there will be spoilers and discussions about this story where a super powerful reality warping superhero takes the corpse of her dead robot love and creates like just sitcom world around them.
Drew, when you say it out loud like that, I start to feel silly. It's making me feel silly.
I fucking love it, man.
No, it's great.
I grew up on classic sitcom shit. Like this, the soon as they started rolling, I remember vividly watching Bewitched as a kid, and like I was just fucking in immediately. It connected directly into that sweet spot.
I think that's probably the first thing that's worth picking up about WandaVision is the premise is great. She's creating her own reality and she's creating it in the language of sitcoms through the ages. But the actual handling of the sitcoms, everything from the pacing to the presentation to the writing, is perfect. It's really well handled.
Yeah. I love that the effects change, like, through the ones. Like, the first episode has the really shitty Bewitched effects. And then they, like, kind of slightly improve, like, as they go. And it's little touches like that. Like, you really a love for the classics.
Even the lighting and the set dressing, it's spot on. Obviously kind of retooled for modern cameras and everything, but, like, so evocative of the times they're mimicking. It was nicely done.
Yeah, they really do. They really do have a good handle on the decade that they are like, grabbing from, starting with like what was about like the 50s, 60s, and then like going up to like the Full House era. I think it was like last weekend. I've seen a lot of people who don't like that because I guess they figured the show was starting slow. They want their superheroes to be beating each other up, but yeah, it's been really fascinating just watching them just do that evolution in addition to essentially the creepy behind the scenes Twilight Zone plot that's going on.
And also, just before we move on to that Twilight Zone plot and why this is like much more than just a sitcom through the ages rehash, I just want to clarify this if it's just me or not. But does Elizabeth Olsen's sitcom mom voice evolve through the iterations? Because I swear she talks differently each time.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, her voice is changing, her accent shifts. I mean, in episode 5, you see the big stark contrast when she walks out and, like, has her Avengers pseudo-Eastern European accent again.
I mean, Paul Bettany doesn't, but he's basically just comedy Englishman, which has never really changed in 50 years anyway, so...
Yeah, I enjoyed the episodes as they were. Like, you go in kind of knowing that there's going to be some sort of undertone by the virtue of the nature of the show. Even if you don't have the history of knowing about House of M, which we'll get to, but so it's going to be there. But genuinely, I was just enjoying the sitcom versions of this show. Like, watching Wanda and Vision dick around was genuinely fun.
It was fun because, like I said, we didn't really get to see much of them in the movies at all. It felt like there was like their entire character arc happened off screen, and from explaining what exactly their powers were to explaining what exactly their relationship was, it was handled enough that you could follow along and care about it, but perhaps not as deeply as it should have been. So seeing them just having time to bounce off each other, even if it is in this weird fabricated reality, it was charming. It was fun. They're nice actors. Paul Bettany's a funny dude.
Oh yeah, he and Elizabeth Olsen have great comedic chemistry. They're very enjoyable to watch on screen playing against one another.
Oh yeah,
it was enjoyable. There were certain parts where I was like, oh no, the ominous seeping in of the horror of reality. Yeah, can you just wait 5 minutes while I find out what happens when Vision gets drunk and tries to do a magic show, please?
But here's the thing with that ominous seeping in of reality. I mean, they haven't had a lot of screen time. The episodes are not long. I mean, so maybe we're talking 5-10 minutes at most. A lot of it just mentioned, but it's actually pretty amazing what they have filled in the gaps of, a lot of the stuff that, Endgame did not.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of, the sitcom stuff is functional. It's still about the characters, even if it is in this kind of wacky alternate reality. Because I imagine there would be stuff about Vision fitting into the normal world, and there would be stuff about them contemplating what a normal relationship looks like for them that we just never got to see. So, albeit we're seeing it in this kind of wacky, oh no, the boss is coming to dinner format, it's still nice to see.
Yeah, it is genuinely enjoyable just to spend time with these two characters. They are fun and interesting enough, and it is just kind of fun. Like, the idea of a super powerful robot and functionally a demigod living in modern suburbia, like that premise works. Bewitched is a beloved series from way back when. We've always sort of dug that idea. Like, I Dream of Jeannie, Jesus, you can just go through them in the olden days. But, like, I don't know, it works, and it works for a reason. I don't necessarily know what it is, but it's just fun.
It's fish out of water, but but it's kind of the reverse of, say, like, the Prince and the Pauper, like, okay, rich person in, in out of their league. It's basically this ultra powerful person being forced to essentially assimilate into our society. And it's kind of a fascinating concept.
Yeah. What if God had to take the bus, sort of thing?
Yep.
I did think, now there were some people who kind of thought this was slow getting into, and I'm kind of sympathetic to that, because we've gone back to, and I think we've talked about this before, I think a lot of shows are going to be weekly now. I think the days of just dumping 8 episodes in a month are probably gone, because streaming's like way too important to people's revenue now. But a lot of people have been watching it by week and just thinking, what is going on? I think if you're not really getting the sitcom thing at that time, I can understand people's frustration. But there is the kind of slow burn of realizing there's something deeply wrong with this scenario, and that something's gone terribly wrong in the MCU we're familiar with, is really nicely handled, I thought.
And also, it's like, for people who think it's slow, I also, just that reminder, I honestly, when this started, I was hoping they were going to be hour-long episodes, and these are like, with all the beginning, intro and outro, these are about 22-minute episodes here.
They're sitcom length.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of a little bit bound by the format on that one.
Yeah.
I read an article, it had a really interesting headline. It just said, "No, WandaVision isn't slow. You've just forgotten how to watch TV." I thought, yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like the weekly release. I don't know if that's just me. I like having something to look forward to. I like the fact that we have a water cooler discussion ability thing that lasts for longer than... Well, Tiger King came out last week. All right, it burns for a week. Now we're fucking done, and no one's talking about it ever again. Yeah. Bye.
Well, I said this about The Mandalorian, too. That's less water coolery, because it's a bit less about its meta arc and cliffhanger. But people are saying, it's a bit formulaic, isn't it? The Mandalorian, he just has an adventure every week. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what TV used to be. You just tune in.
Go watch Quantum Leap, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Go watch the old Kung Fu or the old Incredible Hulk show if you want to keep it in...
You'd be like, oh, that was
early
enjoyable.
Edition.
Same time next week? Yes.
Yeah, save that time, save that channel.
It's fine, but I could understand it if you've just forgotten how to watch television, then it might be frustrating for you, but
yeah, I don't miss being in the office, don't get me wrong, but this is the kind of thing that, you would go in on a Monday and you would expect people to be like, hey, did you see this episode? Good. Now we can actually sit down and waste time before getting to work bullshitting about this.
I mean, at this point, every Friday, once I watch the episode, I have to avoid it until then. I'm hopping into the Authors and Dragons Discord connected to our Patreon, because a lot of us are watching it and we're talking about it. And like last week, I just had to be like, all right, avoid, and then finally I watched it and I was like, holy shit! And it was nice, like being able to go into the channel and join other people who were also going, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the beauty and curse of internet. And I watched it last week, maybe around 3 p.m. on Friday, and I was glad I was working earlier in the day, because every time I turned on Twitter, I was like, I would see nope, don't want to know.
I've just had to lock myself out of social media early on Fridays, just fucking nothing until I get a chance to watch it.
Absolutely.
Just be some people just can't wait to scream, here's how it ends. And it's like, fuck you.
It's a pain in the ass being in the wrong country, because I'm cruising through the day, and then just some American just wakes up and watches it before he even gets out of bed, and then just loudly, in the biggest font he can find, just starts talking about it. Yeah, I've learnt to just kind of spend the entire day carefully training myself to anything with like a WAN. Gotta look away from that shit.
I thought you were going to say, I've trained myself to quietly hate humanity.
Well, that too. But
Quietly, have you listened to this podcast?
Listen, Steve's British, so politely hate humanity.
Politely, I'll say. Nothing quiet about any of Authors and Dragons.
politely, but incessantly.
But I will say, there also is a thrill that, like, you know, once I caught up to last week's episode and I watched it, I don't know, it was almost like I know, like, you know, on our like Authors and Dragons chat there, I'll go in and be like, holy shit, this episode. I try really hard not to say anything beyond that, but it's like, you know. But then hopping in a forum where people are talking about it, it's like, oh, I need to get that out of my system.
But to be honest, I'm not super bummed about spoilers. I think even if somebody had said that's going to happen, I still would have been wowed by the moment.
I'm so glad I didn't know.
Yeah, same here.
It's very cool conceptually and well handled enough that I think even if I did see it coming, I'd still be like, yes, that is satisfying and intriguing.
Yeah, I don't mind knowing that there is a holy shit moment. I'm perfectly cool with that.
Yeah.
Like, if I know that actually excites me, if I know like a holy shit moment is coming, you know. But yeah, not knowing made it so much better.
Absolutely.
But it is nice that everybody's kind of just talking about it on the same day and connecting about it. So you said about Tiger King, people started talking about it, and by the time I'd kind of glommed onto what was happening, people had finished it. They just had the entire experience.
Yeah. I watched The Last Dance like 2 months too late. Real kick in the teeth. So we should probably dig in a little bit. We've talked conceptually about WandaVision for a bit, and about the style that it's doing and the way it's handling its release schedule, but we haven't gone much into the content. So this is officially your last spoiler warning. We've still been talking a little bit vaguely, but we're diving into the nitty-gritty here. So at this point, it's really fucking on you.
Hello, friends.
Hey!
Hey.
We're joined by Robert Bevan.
I had some technical difficulties starting up, but I've just overcome them, and I'm now here to share my vast wealth of knowledge and insight about WandaVision, a show that, like many a camp counselor, has touched me.
He just escaped from a sitcom parallel reality where he was forced to be the friendly town doctor.
And of course, he's going to have no idea what we're talking about because he has not seen WandaVision.
Like, you know, every time we do one of these, it's like we have 3 or 4 fanboys, and then Bob who's like, I couldn't give a shit less if this lived or died. It's a good opposing viewpoint.
You got to keep that perspective.
Bob is all of our dads, a little bit afternoon drunk and ashamed of us talking about a video game.
Get real jobs.
It's 7 a little too old for this shit.
Who's WandaVision?
I never thought that was her name.
All right, so Steve, you were saying when they stepped outside of the sitcom world,
It was instantly familiar. My girlfriend pointed this out. The way they handled the shots and the music and the build-up, it was like, we're back in the MCU. There's a real kind of tonal consistency of all the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff throughout the Marvel movies. And it picked up, and it was like they'd never even dropped it. And the way they analyzed this threat by just bringing in familiar support characters who you didn't even realize you kind of wanted to see again because there's so much shit going on in the MCU. I haven't thought about Monica Rambeau since the end of Captain Marvel at all. Or Randall Park's character since Ant-Man, even though he was lovely in that. Or Darcy Lewis, who was very charming in the first 2 Thor movies.
oh, I'm super glad to see Kat Dennings back.
Yeah.
Like, she was a standout of some very low comedy movies.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, these guys, they're going to make sense of this. It's just familiar faces,
Well-
underutilized, and seeing them kicking ass a bit. It's good.
Well, let's back up even further. I thought, because they didn't have to do this, but I thought it was utterly brilliant how they started episode 4 with just, I guess, the anti-snap.
Yeah, snapping back into existence. It does raise a lot of uncomfortable. It's like, we're watching this and thinking, all right, if she snaps into existence on somebody, are they going to become some kind of horrible screaming mutant? I don't think that works. But it's like, if you snapped away in a plane, even if the laws allowed you to snap away on the ground, if that plane was over the ocean, you're going to get eaten by a killer whale or something. And it's going to be horrifying because you've got no idea you've been missing for 5 years. You're just going to kind of close your eyes, wake up, you're inside a whale.
You materialize in the ocean, you're like, I'm alive! And then literally a shark that was also snaps materializes around you.
Or just, I'm alive, alone.
In the ocean.
The ocean.
Oh no, this is my hell. Why couldn't I just be dead?
Definitely drowning to death.
At best.
I returned. Who is this guy my wife is in bed with?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot of that going on. You walk into your own house, your teenage son, now a grown man, shoots you. There's going to be a lot of confusion.
Your wife's fucking a whale.
Maybe not that much confusion, but maybe.
Just try to catch up. This wasn't in the trailer.
You're right, it wasn't. They they focus very much on the sort of Wanda's world aspect in the trailer, which was a smart move because it is it was definitely the thing that I'm always going to watch a Marvel movie. All right, they've got me. But it was definitely the sort of thing that hyped me to think, oh, something different. They're taking a different approach. And now I'm interested to see how they tie that zany Wanda's World thing back into the familiar MCU. And they did that really masterfully, I thought.
Kind of creepy, too. There was an angry undertone to it that really kind of belied the whole superhero vibe, which I really liked.
Yeah, I mean, her motives, fair enough. Her fella was unjustly killed in a way that can't be snapped back. In many ways, she probably took the biggest hit out of the Avengers, maybe.
I mean, yeah, her love not only died twice, she had to kill him once.
She can't catch a break. So if she says, look, I'm taking over this town, I'm going to make my own little reality where he's not dead and I can have a normal life, or, a wacky sitcom normal life, which is even better, then there's sympathy for that there. But then you see the reality of what she's doing. Actually, everyone in that town is a mind slave. And then you start to think, oh yeah, right, that is immoral. That's not what a superhero does. For her to just come out of that and say, you know what? Maybe it is immoral. But if you try to fuck with me, I'm going to, explode you into molecules or something.
Yeah, she went all Charlie X on that shit.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I think you've forgotten. You're a human, and I'm fucking not.
It's like, I am God of this town. Pray I don't decide to become God of more.
And I mean that literally. Pray to me.
And it's kind of like, well, who's going to stop her? Which is fair enough, because they do say, and they did point this out, and I thought this was cheating a little bit, but I understand why they did it. Because everybody seems to have a really good point of view of what happened during the Thanos fight. And they're all saying, oh yeah, well, Wanda was probably the only one that could have beaten Thanos. And I was thinking, I don't remember it being quite that straightforward, but yeah, I mean, if you've read the comics, yeah, she's a contender. But I'm glad they said it out like that, even though it seemed to be cheating a bit, because I don't remember anyone really being around at that part of the fight in the movie. But it does sort of belay the question, oh yeah, there's no one left who can fight her now.
The closest is Vision, who's a corpse that she's puppeteering.
She is the most dangerous person on the planet, possibly in the universe. So some stakes is what I'm saying. Some nice stakes.
Yeah. Don't get between her and the Vision's D.
Yeah, I'm trying to think at this point, like, it's hard because if we go by comics, there are definitely some other characters that could, but in MCU scale,
no,
it's a tough one. Captain Marvel could, but they established that she's gone early on. Same with Thor. Like, yeah, most of their heavy hitters are in space by this point.
And even the Captain Marvel angle was kind of, they did really set out, she can go toe-to-toe with Thanos, and maybe Captain Marvel too, which kind of didn't fill me with a lot of confidence that Captain Marvel's going to come back and save everyone. So yeah, it kind of we've run out of all-powerful bad guys, but Scarlet Witch has lost her shit, and anyone who's read the comic books know that never ends well. She has the power to end and create franchises.
I just realized who the actual only contender is, and I was like, oh right, magic must defeat magic. Doctor Strange. That is one of the lessons I took from Jackie Chan Adventures and have carried with me all my life.
Well, there's a lot of solid wisdom in Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh my god. God, can we just watch that one day for a side quest? It was so fucking good.
Underrated show.
Now, that would have been a great line in Infinity War. It's like, I looked into 14 million different futures, and we only won in one. And in that one, Wanda goes fucking batshit. You wouldn't believe.
Oh, I was still on the Jackie Chan Adventures bit, just picturing the fight with Thanos, and then you hear Uncle chanting, "Yumo Gwe Gwe Fi Di Sa." Oh.
So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it's you do raise a good point. With so many people in space, is Falcon and the Winter Soldier going to be about them trying to take on Wanda and getting their shit kicked in?
Just
That
them
would be great.
standing outside the thin barrier between their world and a world that belongs entirely to one super mutant who can destroy them with a fort. Probably just them sitting outside there, maybe going, how do you want to do this? Just maybe let's just procrastinate for 8 episodes.
I'm looking forward to Falcon Winter Soldier, but I would love it if the first scene is somebody in S.H.I.E.L.D. going, we have to stop Wanda Maximoff. Well, what about the Falcon and Winter Soldier? And then they just start laughing. No, seriously.
It's like, we've just trained that guy how to use the shield. Let's not waste him just yet. Put them on a different mission. Find some busy work for them. There's got to be some Hydra types around somewhere.
Yeah. Let's fight the demigod. Let's send in the guy with one arm.
I was more picturing it being Falcon and Winter Soldier getting the request hey, we need you guys to go handle this Wanda Maximoff problem, and them just looking at each other and then fucking being gone. Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're AWOL.
It's just the entire thing is just a buddy show about them shirking their duty.
You want to go fight Wanda yet? No, I'll take the whole U.S. government, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so we are up to episode 5, so the things that we have learned are that Wanda is, yes, as Steve said, controlling everyone in this town. We do get the knowledge that all of them are real human beings. She has not created them. She's just sort of dominated them, with one possible exception.
Now, there is something interesting about that as well, because, again, relevant to the comics, Wanda and Vision have had children in this reality. And those children have been created from nothing, which is important.
Yes, and she cannot control them. Although I was actually referring to the neighbor Agnes. We'll get into Tommy and Billy in a second, but so the neighbor Agnes is a big. People are thinking she might be Agatha Harkness, who's a magical character from the comics, and it's relevant that. In the scene where they're going through and showing the lineups and who all our main side characters that we've seen are, we don't get one for Agnes. She is specifically not shown to be a real person.
Yes.
Which is cool and makes you wonder. Could be fucking nothing. They could be fucking with us.
I really did like the part where she basically walked into the wacky sitcom, said her lines. This is when Vision's starting to catch on that not everything's as it should be, and he says an unexpected line, and she just kind of goes into jobbing actor mode, and she's like, oh, so you want me to take that again, or what? I thought that was neat.
Yeah. Catherine Hahn is fucking perfect for that role. She's so good.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what that character's about, and whether that was just kind of a blip. If Wanda Maximoff is imagining these people as actors playing a part in her sitcom reality. I mean, that's got to be confusing.
I feel like Agnes, no matter what it turns out to be, whether it's actually Agatha Harker or whether she's secretly Mephisto, a.k.a. the devil, yes, that's how this happened in the comics.
This could go anyway.
She's definitely her own thing. Like, I think she's definitely got her own shit going on.
Well, the fact that she can create something for nothing has huge implications for Vision, who we get the impression doesn't know he's been killed and raised from the dead. And there's questions there of whether he is actually alive and whether those children are alive. And that question is incredibly pertinent to, are we too soon to talk about the major spoiler drop that everyone's already seen and is aware of?
Yeah, we've given the warnings and everything. Yeah. Go ahead. The big takeaway from our last viewing, not you, the audience who's ahead of us.
Not you in the
or
future,
me.
Or Bevan, who's never going to see this, is the return of Pietro Maximoff, Quicksilver, who died in the MCU and is very much alive in the Sony X-Men.
Wait. Bob, did you see the Sony X-Men movie? Or no, the Fox X-Men movies?
Fox, sorry, yeah.
Wait, are those different from the regular X-Men movies?
They are the regular X-Men movies.
Yes,
sort of.
Yeah.
I saw the first X-Men movie.
Okay,
that was like 7 X-Men movies ago.
Yeah, like the one in the 90s?
Yeah, that's the one. When I decided I didn't care to see anymore.
Continuity gets a little bit mangled from where you are to where we are.
Things have happened.
This is difficult to explain. I don't know if we could even explain the Fox.
Don't. I don't care.
No, Steve. Bring us up to speed on Days of Future Past.
Guys, I'm here because I'm lonely.
It's fair enough. Pandemic.
Well,
Get it.
In the Fox universe, there's been several kind of restarted timelines, and there's a Quicksilver in those timelines as a mutant and not a high evolutionary experiment. But the Quicksilver in the MCU universe, who was a high evolutionary experiment, is dead. So when Wanda brings back her brother from the dead in a fantasy world, you'd expect it would be this Quicksilver from the MCU universe. But they said, no, fuck that guy. We're going to take the one that everyone likes from the Fox universe. So now,
truly the only element of those movies that everyone likes.
Yeah, well, it's Evan Peters. The guy's a dude. He's great in everything he's in.
Yeah.
Endlessly charming, even when he's playing an absolute creep, as he often does in American Horror Story. But yeah, so they've just, rather than just use the same actor again, they've decided to merge the franchises, possibly, or just borrow the actor. No one knows yet. They might know by the time this goes out. But even so, that's a little sitcom cameo appearance that must have had lawyers working for months, just locked in a room.
I mean, not so much anymore, because they own it now.
Well, I don't know. I think even like rights management, there's still got to be some kind of weird paperwork going on.
I mean, Disney is now referencing their own movies in terms of ownership.
I suppose, yeah.
With the Mark Peters thing. And so that actually does kick us off to another big point of this. So, for anyone who has not kept up with the basic machinations of giant Hollywood structure, and God, what an asshole you are, Disney bought Fox last year or a few years ago. Time is a fucking meaningless thing. We're in the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But Disney bought Fox, and therefore all of Fox's rights and properties, which included things that Marvel had sold off to them back when Marvel was making cocaine business decisions, to say lightly. And so a lot of people have wondered, since the mutants are a Fox property, or are a Marvel property, and they're a very beloved one outside of the movies, what Disney would do to bring them into the MCU? Because obviously if you spend that money, you're going to use those properties. And this seems like probably the most likely linchpin, because in the comics it is established that Wanda can erase all of the mutants. Spoilers for House of M from 10 years ago. And then, so it's not really a stretch to say that she could create all the mutants.
Yeah. Or, merge some kind of alternate timeline. She's an unpredictable gal. She can do a lot of crazy shit. But what interested me about this was the decision to handle this now. I think it's come at a perfect time. I think even if Disney had owned all of them back when they first did the Avengers, I don't think they could have done the Avengers universe and Spider-Man and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. It would have been way too much. When you remember how gently we were eased into the batshit insanity of the MCU with like, here's a guy who can make a robot suit. Okay. Here's a World War II soldier on steroids. Okay, I get this. And here's a thunder god. It's like, you're nearly losing me. But they sort of, they tied it all together. If they just said, here's a guy in a robot suit. And here is a woman who can bend reality. Would have been a lot to take in.
And she's very upset about her dead robot love.
Yeah, but now they've established Wanda. They've established Doctor Strange, which I'm looking forward to the whole multiverse thing with them. I think that's going to get messy in a good way. They can just do typical Marvel level cosmic bullshit now whenever they want.
Well, here's the thing: they also have two proofs of concept out there that weren't theirs. I mean, you have the Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinite Earths, and you have Enter the Spider-Verse, both which prove that that people will go batshit if you give them that taste of, yes, all of this stuff does exist in a multiverse.
There are enough people familiar with that they can get behind it.
A multiverse done well can move tickets. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the MCU is hard enough and established enough that they can be a bit silly with it now. I mean, I guess like the Daredevil universe and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe were only ever tangentially kind of connected to the actual MCU. Now they can just steal any element they want from that, I guess, if they wanted to. I wouldn't mind seeing a Charlie Cox Daredevil again. He's pretty much useless in the main MCU, but, put him in a corridor, he can probably take on most of them.
I could enjoy Luke Cage and Jessica Jones back. We can leave Iron Fist. We're bringing back almost all the Netflix. What do you mean by almost?
Hey guys, wait for me. Oh, sorry, dude. Portal's closing. There's only one of them. Bye.
Oh God, I would love to see John Bernthal's Punisher show up.
Yes.
Like a Spider-Man movie or something.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he was already in talks to come back.
There's rumors. There's buzzing.
Yeah.
I can't really see anyone else playing Punisher now, to be honest.
I mean, everything seems a lot more open now, and so it should bear mentioning. Wanda as a character is confirmed in an upcoming Doctor Strange movie, The Multiverse of Madness, which again kind of threads into that whole is Wanda about to rip some multiverse shit open.
Well, they're talking about the next Spider-Man movie just having a lot of Spider-Mans.
They're just gonna do Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
They're just gonna fucking do it, but with real actors.
And I'd be okay with that.
I'll be okay with it. I don't know if they're gonna top Into the Spider-Verse. That thing was a fucking goddamn.
That was good.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it had to be self-contained, I think, and this doesn't. If the multiverse is really and truly taking like from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Verse and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Verse, that to me seems insane, but I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I hope they just keep telling Andrew Garfield, shut the fuck up. Hey guys, maybe we should. Hey, you get to be here.
We're gonna give each other names just to just to differentiate. You're lesser Spider-Man.
Bad Spider-Man? Come on, guys. Yeah, what up, shit Spider-Man?
What do you guys think was the appeal of the Spider-Man into whatever the fuck it was called?
Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful for one thing. Animation was absolutely a great medium for it because they do a lot of different styles.
I'm asking because I saw it, so you don't have to explain it to me.
Oh, sorry. I mean, that would say...
No, this is why, something I can actually talk about.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I would say the art, the writing, the themes, the story, it was just fucking... I loved it on all levels.
Yeah, I liked it too. Maybe part of the appeal was that it had some appeal to, outsiders, someone that didn't otherwise give a shit about Spider-Man. Or I've liked Spider-Man in the past, but I liked it. My wife liked it. My kids liked it, and my daughter, she is not invested in these comics, and she liked it more than any of us.
It was accessible. That's a very good
absolutely.
point. It was highly accessible whether you were a long-term Spider-Man fan or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it basically served as like a spectacle, but also an origin story.
Yeah. It was self-contained. It was a Spider-Man and his adventures with other Spider-Man. That one of those Spider-Men was possibly the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe is a nice bonus. But not necessarily, you don't have to have seen any of them for any of those jokes to land or understanding to land. I don't know. I mean, like stuff like the 2077 Spider-Man at the end. There's a lot in there to keep you happy if you're a comic book nerd boy. But at the same time,
Spider-Ham is a funny gag whether you know that's a real thing or not.
Yeah.
Like, it just works. You don't have to have the background. John Mulaney voicing a cartoon big with spider powers is funny.
Yeah.
But we're talking about WandaVision.
You see, this is what happens when you break reality. You start losing track.
Maybe these will connect. Fucking anything's possible now.
Well, there's one. If anything is possible, then Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness. That's out there.
Ooh. That's
a comic book. So bring that on.
Keep spending your money, and eventually they'll run out. They'll have to get to it.
I was just saying, we're talking about this now. We're all going to watch like WandaVision tomorrow, and Spider-Ham shows up at the end.
Just, oh my god, I will fucking stand up in my home and applaud.
Just Bruce Campbell falling out of the sky.
Steve's just like, well, I think I have to masturbate just on principle.
Yeah, probably.
I wanted to ask you guys, so obviously a big part of the fun of this is the uncertainty, the mystery, the wondering. They've made some clear nods to the comic storyline that follows this, while also branching out on their own. Oh, we should talk about Tommy and Billy. I wanted to get to where do you think it's going, but we have to talk about Tommy and Billy. I know, let's roll them in. Where do you think this is going? Do you think the kids are going to be secretly created by the devil, as like in the comics? Sometimes. The continuity on this has shifted like 5 fucking times, so I'm both right and wrong.
Yeah, I can't remember where that landed with the kids, because it landed in different places. But yeah. I think bringing Mephisto in at this point, I don't know, I was about to say it's ridiculous, but he could turn up in Doctor Strange. Ghost Rider could Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider could just kick down a door and be mental, and he'd be like, well, we've got to give him a pass. This is it's entirely credible.
They're doing the 80s sitcoms? Yeah, there's cocaine in the 80s. We're down with this.
Alright, I haven't seen any of this, but if their names are Tommy and Billy, and there's a character named Mephisto, these kids are going to get molested.
Pronounced
Mephisto.
Mephisto.
Is basically the Marvel devil, a Marvel devil, but like their sub-in for Lucifer. And I don't remember all the details, but he was sort of responsible for Scarlet Witch having these fictitious children that were kind of real to her. And then Mephisto was like, "Maha! I helped create them." And then Wibbledy-Wobbledy comic stuff made that true and untrue a half dozen times. And then they were like, we're going to make Wanda forget about all of that stuff about those kids she thought she had. And then a few decades passed, and then Wanda remembered, and it turns out fucking with the memories of a reality-warping god regarding her fictional children is a bad idea. I mean, at this point, it seems sort of like Mephisto would be a far less compelling villain than Wanda, which, I mean, I feel like they're very clearly hinting that Wanda is potentially going to be a villain. The whole mind-jacking people is leaning in that direction. And, hey, I took this town hostage, leave me alone. What if we don't? I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, then Wanda being an incredibly scary threat is definitely on the cards, and I guess she'll have to. I mean, that's happened before. She's lost her shit, done stuff accidentally that's endangered a lot of people, and she's had to be neutralized or kind of brought back down to earth in some way and brought back from the edge. So that'll happen. There'll be some huge Wanda rearing up where she'll kick the shit out of everyone, and it'll be great. But as for what happens with the kids,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that'll be the trigger that sets her off.
Mephisto.
I mean, that's my thing, is it feels so clearly where they're leading that I don't trust it right now, because, like, there have been so many swerves and turns and we're halfway through. I'm like, I don't know, Villain Wanda makes sense, but I definitely didn't see that fucking Pietro recast coming.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot on the table right now. I mean, simply because we didn't get to see a lot of Vision and Wanda. I want to see him fighting something. Even if it is Falcon and Winter Soldier, and even if it is hilariously one-sided.
And even if it is their own incompetence at a magic show.
Yeah, that was nice too. But
I don't know, they got that Loki program coming. Maybe at the end it just turns out it was him just fucking with them.
actually, that's another thing that, after seeing the trailers, really kind of piqued my curiosity, because it looks like they're going to be doing something with timelines in that as well. So this could all get really confusing, very expensive, and will ensure that I am paying my Disney subscription for the next 10 years or whatever.
This is why there's like 900 Marvel universes out there.
Get enough quantity, you can just start to ignore the ones that don't quite hit.
And honestly, there's not even that many of those.
You can start to gloss over the 4-2s, and the Iron Man 3s. Who remembers them?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is, those still made a boatload of money.
That is true.
Thor 3 made up for Thor 2, I feel like.
Yeah. You can just keep on going until they find a universe where they have all the money. Which is this universe?
I mean, it doesn't feel like it's that far from this one.
I was going to say, that might be this universe here.
Man, that got meta.
So there are calls for Jimmy Woo, a.k.a. Randall Park, and Darcy Lewis, a.k.a. Kat Dennings, to get a spin-off where they go around just solving, like, small-scale mysteries in the MCU, and I would watch the shit out of that.
There are so many minor characters in the Marvel universe that they could just mine for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope they do. Like, that's where that TV aspect shines. Like, doing shows about the street level superheroes wasn't a bad idea.
No,
not at all.
When Daredevil came out, Daredevil was fucking badass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the closest we've got in the MCU to a street level hero was Spider-Man, and we never really got to see him at street level at all. We know he was a street level hero, and then he got picked up by Tony Stark and essentially, introduced to the big leagues. But yeah, if there was a Spider-Man street level hero, why not a Daredevil? Why not a Luke Cage?
Yeah, if every street level character, they meet Tony Stark and he's like, hey, here's $1 billion suit.
I'm going to franchise you.
I mean, I know, I think it was the latest season, or the last season at this point, of Luke Cage. There was one episode of him and Danny Rand, like, dicking around. And I was like, God, this makes me so want to watch a Heroes for Hire. But get a better Iron Fist, get a better Iron Fist. But, like, I would just love to watch that, because that buddy dynamic, that small scale, working to make a buck while also trying to be good, like, that's such a good storytelling for stories kind of like The Mandalorian. Like, instead of doing big-ass season arcs, do a Heroes for Hire show and let each episode be them fucking with one case.
Yeah.
Some of these stories don't need to have gigantic-ass arcs. I think that's the problem, is they try to take the smaller stakes characters and keep giving them big, epic stakes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have some street-level stuff.
It's ridiculous. I have one issue of Kazar here where he fights Thanos, and it's just like, why? Why does Tarzan need to fight a space god?
I mean, I would read Tarzan versus Space God. That would be... I'd pick that issue up.
It wasn't a particularly good issue.
The issue with the comic books, even going back to the comics, has always been like, well, if Luke Cage is there having problems with a superpowered villain, why doesn't Iron Man just drop in from nowhere, immediately neutralize the situation, and then go away again? Or give Luke Cage like several billion dollar suit. But now, Tony Stark is dead. So...
Spoilers.
for now, because getting back to that whole this universe being the one where Disney has all the money, I don't know. It sounds like a lot of the people who were like, okay, after Endgame we're done. They're kind of like, well, we might be open to coming back.
It's like, oh shit, the entertainment industry is not looking as lucrative as it was a few years ago.
Get back on that Marvel life raft.
That guaranteed paycheck's looking pretty nice again. Robert Downey Jr. reads the Doolittle reviews. Tony Stark probably built a device to bring himself back from the dead, right?
I mean, he definitely did. It's in the comics.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one I wanted to close out for final question on this one. After the amazing Pietro reveal that we got last week, and you all out there got 2 weeks ago, you lucky sons of bitches, so you're just ahead of us. Assuming that WandaVision is kicking open the door for Disney to start utilizing some of these properties they've picked up and cherry picking and what have you, who would you like to see get introduced next into the MCU at large? Doesn't have to be someone you think they actually will, just who would make you happy to get brought in?
Mephisto.
Well, I've always said I've been saying for years I'd love to see a legal drama, a quirky legal drama She-Hulk, but it looks like that's happening, so that seems like a waste of a pick. Moon Knight? Just because...
I think they are bringing...
Yeah,
I swear they're doing a Moon Knight one too.
Yeah.
Well, I was going for the character that would be least compatible with everything they've done. Let me see.
I want them to take a crack at the Fantastic Four, just because
Yes.
I've grown up so much hearing like they're Marvel's first family, and they're such a popular series, and I've always thought they fucking sucked. And
Fuck you.
like the movies have definitely not done anything to dissuade that notion.
No, I'll give you that.
And so I'm just like, every time I'm always like, I don't get the appeal. I'm sure there are good, well-written ones, but it just seems generally shitty all around. And I want to see what a good version of that would look like. And based on their track record, if anybody's going to pull off a good on-screen Fantastic Four, it's going to be the Disney Marvel machine.
It's not gonna happen. This is, I mean, look, I'm not a fan of the genre, but I have a special dark place in my heart for the Fantastic Four. I've said this before. The premise is just too fucking stupid.
Well, here's the thing. They've got the sword contingent now in space. We saw that in the latest Spider-Man movie. So all you really need is 4 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in space to have a much more credible origin story for the Fantastic Four.
I don't know what any of that means, but it's wrong.
Between now and the Fantastic Four movie, I expect to be like, kidnapping and sacrificing orphans to dark gods just so that a good Fantastic Four movie comes out, so I can be like the Bob, ha.
Like I'm gonna buy that. Yeah, all right, you liked it. That doesn't mean it wasn't fucking shit.
You know something? We'll both know deep down, even if we don't admit it.
Rick kidnaps Bob and makes him watch it while wearing a Dr. Doom mask.
I'll watch it and I'll enjoy shitting on it.
I don't know. I'd like to see their take on it. I want to understand the appeal, and by God, this seems like the best shot it's gonna get.
Yeah, I don't know. I've read some good Fantastic Four. They were doing some interesting things before Civil War, where they just go off and have wacky adventures, or they're just kind of having domestics with other superheroes, or adjusting to the fact that they are Marvel's first family and hothead Johnny was kind of slightly older and having doubts about his bachelor bad boy lifestyle. There was some interesting stuff done with them, and they're a hub component of the Marvel Universe that hasn't been done properly yet.
I mean, there was a recent story where the Thing got married to his longtime girlfriend, but he only turns into a human once a year, so he was saving that for his honeymoon so he could actually have sex. And all he wanted to do was bang his wife, and the Hulk shows up, and they have to fight for the entirety of the time that he's like that. When all he's just like, yeah, my dick is hard. I don't want to fight the Hulk.
Was that the one time where he
He's
beat
made
the
out
Hulk?
of rocks. His dick's always hard.
I feel like the answer to that would have just been to start jerking off. It's like, all right, Hulk, you can do what you want to do, but I'm seeing this through. You can help get out of the way. I don't give a shit.
Look, Hulk, everyone knows you smash, but now it's my turn.
Yeah, but you don't want to turn into a little human while the Hulk's there with his giant green 3-foot meat schlong. That's an inferiority complex waiting to happen.
I was about to ask why the Thing can turn into a human once a year, and I was like, the answer's going to be stupid. I don't give a shit.
I mean, that's one of the least stupid.
No, it's not going to be stupid. Because whatever Rick's counting on is going to make that make sense. And it's going to be awesome.
Could be the Thing ring, do your thing. From the old Hanna-Barbera days.
The MCU could make the Thing ring awesome. I have full faith in them.
Oh God, now we're flying too close to the sun. Now we're asking a lot.
I'm going to be calling up Bob at 4 a.m, just whispering the phone. We both know the truth. Click.
You're calling me at 4 a.m. Let's talk a little while.
No, that's all you're getting. We both know the truth.
At least let me jerk off first.
All right, here, question for you. Do you think they will get Ian McKellen for Magneto?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the Fox timeline was all over the fucking place. And those guys, they're kind of old now.
Yeah, I mean...
How old is Ian McKellen?
He gives a shit. He's like, whatever, it's fun.
Yeah,
write me that paycheck.
Michael Fassbender, I mean, I can see maybe. But, yeah, Ian McClellan's... I would love to see him, don't get me wrong. He's pretty much great and everything, but I don't know if I just see it happening.
I bet they could get him for a cameo.
Yeah.
I doubt they could get him for a full recurring role, but he and Patrick Stewart would probably do a pop-in.
I mean, at least Patrick Stewart can sit down, so that's all right. But they're now of the age where I'd feel bad about making them go outside.
You're not making them do shit. You're giving them shit tons of money.
That is true.
They were willing to do Cats last year, so...
Oh, yeah, but
fucking hell.
I feel bad about
one was
that.
willing to do Cats. I'm not going to put Patrick Stewart's name through the mud like
They'll
that.
do it for free to redeem themselves.
I still feel bad about watching Cats. I feel partly responsible for Ian McKellen being in that movie.
Oh, God.
Let's not talk about Cats.
All right, well, what about the fact that that apparently Deadpool 3 is coming?
Oh, Deadpool in the MCU would be an interesting surprise.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot going on, and he's a disruptive element. I'm just trying to think of the bubbles that have been established. I mean, the cosmic side, the magic side, the Stark Tech side, that's all been really strong pillars throughout the MCU, and I think you can weave mutants into that as kind of like a new threat. And maybe even the Fantastic Four. But I don't know. It's I wouldn't fuck with the Inhumans. Just don't think it's worth it.
Oh, I think they learned their lesson on that one already.
Yeah.
I would like to see Great Lakes Avengers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to see that in the MCU proper. But I wouldn't mind a spin-off with the Great Lakes Avengers. Because they're just stupid. I like that. Actually, there was a really good storyline done with the Great Lakes Avengers where it's haha, you're all stupid. But it got really tragic and awful. But, so you can do something with that. I think some of them are vaguely problematic now, probably. But, I still think they're funny.
I would love to see a running joke with, with all the major bad guys of like the Marvel Universe, and every so often the Avengers show up, and Squirrel Girl's just taking care of them for them.
Yeah, I mean, Squirrel Girl as a running joke works for me. I'm not sure how much I'd want to like anything focusing majorly on Squirrel Girl.
I think you have to cast someone really, really expensive and famous as Squirrel Girl. That way you can only use her in short cameos.
Yeah.
It's all the budget will sustain.
Yeah, I mean, Squirrel Girl's kind of like the joke breaks the universe. Squirrel Girl shouldn't be able to take on Thanos. Otherwise, it just makes everything look ridiculous. It only kind of works as a joke.
Taylor Swift as Squirrel Girl.
I mean, the casting for Squirrel Girl is very obviously Anna Kendrick.
I don't know. Taylor Swift kind of looks like Squirrel Girl.
I will stand on this hill and fight all day.
You know what they need? They need Aubrey Plaza as Squirrel Girl.
If you get me Anna Kendrick as Squirrel Girl and Aubrey Plaza as some sardonic C-lister that I don't know the name of, but I'm sure there's a fucking million of them, I will watch the hell out of that movie, show. I'd watch it on goddamn Quibi.
I don't know who Squirrel Girl is, but hear me out. Ian McKellen.
You know
what? I'm on board with that.
Another pillar of the Marvel Universe that hasn't been explored. Namor.
I think that's coming. I think that's coming.
Oh. Well, fuck me then. Just to give Aquaman some competition out there.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see their take on. I mean, like Aquaman in the DCU wasn't a great movie, but it was a dopey fun movie.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I remember the Alex Ross kind of retelling of the Marvel history and the way he drew the forces of Namor coming out, and there's kind of these weird alien ships but coming from the sea. It just strikes me that if they need another huge army to fight, it's one they haven't explored yet.
It'll be interesting because typically in the comics, Namor is pretty much a dick.
He is a dick, yeah.
Tony's gone, so we do have a powerful asshole role to fill.
There's an opening, yeah. An asshole opening.
Bring in Mephisto.
They still might. You never. Yeah. Maybe Agnes is Mephisto. Whoa.
Potentially Ghost Rider.
Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider would be a fun surprise, and honestly, probably something they could afford.
Yeah, he's not fussy at the moment. He'll take that role.
I feel like I know that tax thing is like a decade behind, but like it feels like the next one can never be that far away.
I was gonna say if they're looking to go cheap, they could get Wesley Snipes back for Blade.
Oh my god, I would fucking love if they got Wesley Snipes back for Blade. I don't know, is Wesley Snipes in jail again? Like he went to Texas jail.
Wesley Snipes was in the Eddie Murphy movie, My Name is Dolomite, and he was really good in it. Like a proper actor and not a crazy man who resents being cast alongside Ryan Reynolds because he has tax problems.
Oh, I'm not knocking Wesley Snipes. He had some really good roles before he went into, I'm just pissed off at working next to Ryan Reynolds because I have tax problems.
Yeah. Mahershala Ali. He elevates everything he's in. He's a fucking hell of an actor. But I would probably rather have Wesley Snipes as Blade.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe multiverse passing of the torch to them both, but that the 90s Blade movie, I'm sure it's not good if we go back and watch it, but I do remember it fondly.
It was the one that started it all.
Yeah.
Boosted superheroes back from a dead end.
Schumachery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched, I think it was Blade 2 not too long ago, and it's still definitely watchable.
All right, well, I think that is going to do it for this week's side quest and all of our speculation on WandaVision, most of which is probably rendered moot like 12 hours after we finish recording this. But hey, that's the fun of watching things as they come out. We get to speculate and we get to be wrong, and you know what? It's kind of fun.
Imagine we said all this and like Superman turns up next week. Just completely blows our shit out of the water.
It's like, wait, who did Disney buy now? Fuck you, HBO Max. We bought DC. Oh, man. All right, y'all. We will be back next week with an episode of Authors and Dragons, the regular game, and then in another week with Side Quest, because that is how the rotating schedule works. Until then, bye.
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 Mephisto.